Live from the TV30 studio, here is Jim Schneider.
Well, hi and welcome to inFocus. We're glad that you could join us for our broadcast as we meet every Monday evening to talk about issues that are impacting us. Sometimes it's on a local level, sometimes it's on a national level, and so tonight is no exception as we talk about Islam's influence tonight. Matter of fact, Islam is having a greater and greater influence all across the nation. It's impacting certainly our politics, it's impacting elections, it's impacting schools, it's impacting what we watch on television, on media, and so much more. Joining us here tonight to talk about a number of these areas is Usama Daktak. Usama is the founder of the Straight Way of Grace Ministry. He does travel throughout the United States and Canada, equipping Christians to be effective witnesses of Jesus Christ to their Muslim neighbors, as well as ministering to Muslims directly. He's conducted a word-for-word translation of the Quran from Arabic into English. It's called the Generous Quran. He's also authored the 2-volume set Exposing the Truth About the Quran. He's a speaker on the Revealing the Truth About Islam radio program on WVCY Radio, also Straightway TV here on WVCY TV. Usama, good to have you with us.
Thank you, Brother Jim. It's always my joy to be with you and all our wonderful audience.
Why do you do what you do?
Because I love America, because I love the freedom we have in America, which sadly I believe most Muslims are not appreciating it, because amazingly they come to America and say they want our freedom, but in the same time they want to make America like where they come from. And the other thing is most American people do not have the full understanding of the freedom which we have, and they are taking it for granted.
We're going to be looking at Islam's influence, but we can't help but take notice to an event that happened this past weekend, a very tragic event in which we have the Jewish synagogue that was entered into, 11 people shot and killed. We know that this is said to be the deadliest attack upon Jews in American history. And we saw the suspect shouting out, "All Jews must die." The shooter also allegedly told police, "I want to kill Jews." And this is certainly things that unfolded this past weekend. How do we make sense of this? Well, it seems very troubling for somebody to have that much hatred inside of them.
Believe it or not, when this accident happened, a lot of people talked to me. I got some phone calls and text message. Is he a Muslim, the man who did that? And it's not out of air, but because if you study Islam and understand Islam, obviously he's not a Muslim. But when you study Islam, you find the hatred which Muhammad put into the heart of the Muslims towards all the Jews and all the Christians, especially when you read the final words of Allah in the Medini chapters. If you go to Quran chapter 1, Brother Jim, that is the first chapter Muslim open, and that is a chapter where they repeat in their 5 daily prayers 17 times. Verse 5, Muslims pray, "Guide us to the straight way." Verse 6, "The way of those whom you have graced." According to Muslim scholars, these are the Muslims, not the one whom your wrath or your anger is against. Muslim scholars tell us these are the Jews, nor the lost ones. And Muslim scholars tell us that the lost ones are the Christians. And every lost, every doll will burn in hell. That's the word in Arabic language, doll. So the hatred of the Jews and the Christians, Muslims know it from their childhood as they grew all their life, know that Allah's wrath, Allah's anger is against the Jews, and all Christians are lost. And if you go to Quran chapter 9, which is the last chapter Muhammad wrote before he died, even though there are 114 chapters there, you will see that Muhammad commanded and ordered the Muslim people to engage in war with the people of the book, the Jews and the Christians. In his saying, in the hadith, Sahih Muslim and Sahih Bukhari, Muhammad made sure that not one Jew will be left in Saudi Arabia while still alive. And then he said to the Muslim believers that the day of judgment will not come until the Muslim kills the last Jew. As he stated, even the rocks and the trees will cry out, "Oh, Muslim faithful, there is a Jew hiding behind me, come and behead him." And obviously, we know that this is a work of the devil, this is a work of Satan, and it doesn't matter whom Satan will be using to kill the Jews or the Christians. He can use anybody who does not have love for humanity, love for life, as we see it truly presented in Christianity.
So those who truly follow Islam cannot tolerate Jews.
Absolutely not.
Cannot tolerate Christians.
Absolutely not.
Okay, but we have...
And by the way, Brother Jim, the reason they hate Christians because Christianity is the worst sin you can ever commit as a human. That is to have the sin of shirk, to believe that Jesus is a partner with God or the Holy Spirit is partner with God. It's very clear in all teachings of the Quran that that sin cannot be punished except by death.
Are we getting a mixed message then? Because here you've quoted from the Quran. This would be the book that Muslims are to follow. And yet we see the Council on American Islamic Relations that said we're coming alongside, we're standing in solidarity with the people of this Jewish synagogue. We have Muslim groups that have actually started a fundraising campaign to raise money for the victims of this tragedy. How do these two things equate on the balance scale?
By the way, Brother Jim, this reminds us of 18 years ago after Saudi Arabia sponsored the killing. And we have this from the investigation. We're not making this up. It is true. The King Fahd and the Muslim of Saudi Arabia sponsored the killing of 3,000 Americans. And immediately after September 11, they gave us hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I'm so thankful for Rudy Giuliani. I do not agree with everything he does, but in that occasion, when he refuses to take that money from Saudi Arabia, because this is what I call taqiyya, Brother Jim. This is propaganda. I can kill you by my right hand and wipe your tears with my left hand. It's like alligator, you know, the crying alligators. They chew on their own babies, baby alligators, and you can see tears coming from their eyes. Who are these people who collected money for the Jews? Why is they shouting in every mosque in planet Earth, may Allah destroy the Jews and their helpers among the Christians? And we got the videos for it. I'm not making this up.
You use the word taqiyya, and I'm confident that there are many watching the program who said, I don't know what that means. What is taqiyya?
Brother Jim, taqiyya is Quran chapter 3, verse 28, where Allah said, do not take infidels. Allah speaking to Muslim believers, do not take infidels for friends rather than believers. Whoever does this among you has nothing to do with Allah. But then he gives the exception, except that you should guard yourself from them cautiously. And in the interpretation of that verse by all Muslim scholars, for example, Al-Jalalain said, you can take the infidels for friends with your tongue, not with your hearts. And that is only in the case when Muslims are living in a country they are not strong in it. So Muslims in America, they are doing everything they can to take over America, as we're going to be talking a little bit more about that tonight. But at the same time, when something happens like that, if they will not say, we condemn that act, oh, that means they're doing it. No, we're not condemning that act. We're actually going to collect a few thousands of dollars to give the poor victims of that crime. Well, the crime against humanity, the crime against Jews and Christians exists from the days of Muhammad until today, 1400 years, and Christians and Jews are persecuted all over the world, including America, and killed all over the world, including America, and there's nothing a Muslim can do to remove that from the reality of what Islam is all about. It's a savage cult to get rid of anyone, not just Jews and Christians, anyone who will oppose Islam, anyone who will not submit to Islam. Listen to the words of Muhammad in Sahih Muslim. Muhammad said, or Sahih Bukhari as well, that he was commanded by Allah to engage in war with people. The word people means what? It means Jews, Christian, atheists, agnostics, gay and lesbian. He is commanded by Allah to engage in war with people until they say there is no God except Allah and Muhammad is the messenger of Allah. That is until they submit and become Muslims.
Convert to Islam.
Convert to Islam.
Wow. Well, Usama, there's a lot of blame going on right now. Israel has been blamed for this. We have had different groups blamed. President Trump has been blamed. I'm going to look at an article that was in the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel yesterday. And here's a statement that says, prior to the election of President Donald Trump, anti-Semitic harassment and attacks were rare and unexpected, even for Jewish Americans who are proximately situated in the public eye, prominently that is. Following his election, anti-Semitism has become normalized and harassment is a daily occurrence.
Let me correct this false information. That is what I have been saying for the last 18 years, fake news, not just since Mr. Trump came to power. What happened, Brother Jim, is
This is a report from the Anti-Defamation League.
I understand, but here's the truth. If I tell you that every day in Egypt we have some church has been attacked, some Christian has been killed, some girls have been kidnapped, and some, this is the reality. But if I never mentioned to you for a whole year or two, does that mean it did not happen? Not reporting. Now the liberal media, the fake news media, are talking about all these things. But before, they never talked about it. They're making a big deal about it. But in reality, this has been happening all the time. Jews are killed every day in Israel and in the Middle East and different countries around the world. Christian has been persecuted every day and been killed all over the world. Christian ladies have been kidnapped in Egypt every week. But we don't talk about it. It's just now we're going to blame Mr. Trump for everything does not go right, just to make him look like a bully, a bad guy. This is a reaction for what he did. Like, for example, Brother Jim, they accused me of the burning of some mosque in North Dakota, I believe. And the media talked to me and they said, look what happened when you go travel over the country. You cause trouble everywhere you go. I said, I speak literally 300 times a year. So one accident, and I found out later that accident actually was started by a Muslim. A Muslim attacks the mosque. How in the world are you going to blame me for everything? If this is reality, and that's true, it should every day you should have some attack on some Muslim somewhere in America because of our ministry. Obviously, we never teach hate. But they're trying to make us look bad by saying, look what happened when you travel and you speak. You cause trouble everywhere you go. That's the same propaganda they're doing right now with Mr. Trump.
Well, we're going to take a look at another photo because there's a lot of talk about Islamophobia going on.
Sure.
That there will be those who say that Islamophobia is on the increase. And this is something, we just had a VCY ministry trip return from Boston. And as we were walking down the sidewalk, here they saw this big marquee, this big placard in the middle of the street there. And what to do if you're witnessing Islamophobic harassment, a bystander's guide to helping a person who is being targeted. They didn't send back any pictures of this happening to Jews or to Christians, but if you're witnessing Islamophobic harassment.
Well, I'm glad that this is coming up right now because, believe it or not, in our next radio broadcast series, we're going to be talking about Islamophobia, fact or fiction. And what's so amazing, Brother Jim, when you hear Muslims talk about Islamophobia, they will never tell you what are they talking about. They give you just this, like you saw in this cartoon, and they talk generally about the straight way as a hate ministry or this ministry as a hate ministry. But they will never tell you what do we teach which make us hate. I was just watching a video from YouTube, a friend of mine, David Wood, and it was removed from Germany completely by YouTube, and they tell him the reason, because it's a hateful video. And what we have in that video is very simple. 3 sources in the Hadith and the teaching of Allah in the Quran, which said that Muhammad was a womanizer. That's the command of Allah and the life of Muhammad. And they call this a hate speech. It is not to criticize Islam. Anything you're going to say to make Islam look bad from now on, it is a hate speech. And that is what I call Islamophobia. Islamophobia, in my personal opinion, it is the to silence the truth, to get rid of our First Amendment. It is a step to take over the West.
And you just talked about that, what's happening over in Europe, and now here we have a woman, here's a headline, woman convicted for calling Mohammed pedophile. This is a woman that was fined the equivalent of $500 in a judgment. It was upheld by on 2 different appeals, but because she talked about Mohammed being married to a 6-year-old girl.
Well, I'm sorry. This is not something we Christians wrote down or some Jewish people wrote it down. This is what Aisha said. She said in the Hadith, which is Sahih Muslim, Sahih Bukhari, these are 100% true, factual truths about Muhammad. She said, Muhammad married me when I was 6, had sex with me when I was 9, and he died when she was 18. Figure out the mess. He died 63. He was 51 years old when he married Aisha. And in Reliance of the Traveler, there is no any minimum age for marriage. After a Muslim mama have a baby, if that baby is a girl, immediately the daddy can hold hand with another man 30, 40, 50 years older than her and read chapter 1, and that baby just was born is a wife. Now he cannot have sexual relationship with that baby wife until she turned 8 or 9. That is what is written in the Reliance of the Traveler. That is the book of Sharia as Muslims believe it and practice it all over the world. I know here in America we talk about it like Saudi married to little girls or some other country, Pakistani, Afghani, and they call it culture. It is not culture, it is Sunnah, it is Islam. Muhammad was a pedophile, and if Muslims do not like it, well, praise God, get out of Islam. It is a religion to victimize all the females who go through this terrible, terrible life to live with.
Usama, as you know, we have a caravan that's going through Mexico right now, making its way to the U.S. Their trip for some is being accelerated because there are trucks and large caravans that are bringing people in. Give us your comment on this as well, because we seem to see some political implications with all of this coming up near election time. There have been talks of members of ISIS being in this caravan. Your thoughts on what's going on here?
Brother Jim, here's a fact. If Mr. Trump said there are Muslim jihadi in this caravan, they mock him and they laugh at him. But here is the reality. Every time I go to any place where there's a large population of Spanish, me personally, I'm talking about me, Usama. When I go to Miami or I go to Orlando or someplace in Los Angeles and I go to this place, immediately those owners of these businesses speak to me in the Spanish language. Why? People even around me surprised. I mean, why didn't speak to you in Arabic? I said, they do not know of me to be an Egyptian or somebody who speaks Arabic language because I look Spanish. And I can prove this to you by a camera. I can take a camera and go to all this business and immediately, oh, blah, 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 speak to me in Spanish. Excuse me, Arabic or English. And that's where we ended. So in reality is this. Muslims are already in Mexico. Muslims are already in South America and different countries, waiting for the greatest opportunity to come to America. And if I can put you 100 or 200 people in a small group of 500, 600, I guarantee you will not know which one is the Arab, Muslim, ISIS or not, and which one are the people from South America, because we look alike. You cannot compare us, any difference between us in our looks. So in reality, this is a great opportunity. And by the way, if we allow this small 10,000 to go through the land, guess what? There will be a few thousand Muslims coming in America because it's an open door. And oh boy, you give them an inch, they will go for a mile.
Usama Daktak with us here tonight. He is the founder and director of the Straightway of Grace Ministry. Just earlier today, we had this picture sent to us by one of our listeners of a billboard that they came across in the Minneapolis-St. Paul area. And this is something that is appearing on 35W. And it says, "The Messiah has come." And it talks about Muslims for Peace. Usama, you actually contacted this organization.
I called them because I assumed they are Ahmadi, and the Imam answers the phone and he assured me, yes, he's Ahmadi. And he's talking about the Messiah, not Jesus Christ. Because I guarantee when an American sees this, they say, oh, Christ has come, the Messiah, Christ. No, he's talking about their prophet, Ahmed, who, by the way, Ahmadi claimed to be peaceful Muslims. But if you study their history and their beginning in India, they were as much as barbaric than like any other Muslim. There are no difference. And but he said that he asked me, are you a Jew or are you a Christian or you're a Muslim? And I said, why do you want to know if I'm a Christian or a Muslim? He said, because I want to give you the right answer. And I couldn't help it but to laugh. When you call,
the answer changes.
Well, but I said, what if I'm a Jew? And I said, as a Jew, I don't believe the Messiah has come yet. We're waiting for him. And he said, no, he came, and he gave me the date when he came and he died. I said, wait a minute. As a Muslim, you understand that when the Messiah comes, Muhammad said, he will kill all the Jews and he will get rid of Christians and we have a Muslim world. How can your Messiah came and left and he died and we still have Jews and we still have Christians? Well, that's not what we Ahmadi believe. Of course, Ahmadi are not Muslim at all. But talking about peace, Brother Jim, there is no peace in Islam. I challenge any caller to call us when we open the line. Are we going to open the line tonight? Somebody calls and give me a verse in the Quran. Maybe I'm unaware of some verses in the Quran or a verse in the Quran where Allah mentioned peace or love. There is only one verse, Quran 47 and verse 35, where Allah said, do not call for peace when you have the upper hand. Oh, you have believed, do not be weak, do not call for peace when you have the upper hand. So in reality, when Muslim have the upper hand, as they will soon in America and around the world, there will never be peace. They are peaceful right now. Why? Once again, because they're practicing taqiyya. They're pretending to be our friends. But Allah commands them only to do it when you do not have the upper hand.
When does that happen? When does the upper hand occur?
I guess around 5.5%. And we ask me why, because I checked every country in all of the European countries. When Muslims get to the 5.5%, that is too late for the liberals even to defend themselves anymore. See, as long as Muslim 2-3%, they're nice, they're okay. They will shovel your snow, they will cut your grass, they will open the car door for you. And once in a while you get one of them who will rush into the end of time by being the jihadi for Allah. But the reality is, when Muslims reach 5.5%, I guess in the next 5 to 10 years in America, that's when you see the real Islam, because they know it is too late to get rid of them.
Is it too late in Europe?
I believe Europe is gone. Even so many people said, no, it's not too late. Watch every laws are passing in Europe. Today, you cannot criticize Islam. Tomorrow, they will mock everything about Christianity. As already, the people of Europe who do not believe in Christ, they're mocking the Bible, they're mocking Christianity. And that's like turn the light off so the roaches can grow.
Wow. Well, Usama, not only are we seeing this influence happen, I mean, we've got the billboards on the highways, we have so many things that are going on, but we know also that schools are a target, young people as well, school textbooks. Students are being taught to memorize the pillars of Islam. They are taught to memorize the Islamic confession of faith. They go to mosque for school field trips.
And they actually make students stand up in the middle of men to pray, and the girls in the back, as we've seen this in California. The infiltration of Islam in our public school, Brother Jim, is beyond my imagination. I never thought it would be that fast. Just a few years, starting from 2005, and our textbooks, that is just 4 years after September 11. And our textbooks are now literally are filled with all the propaganda, Islam, Prophet Muhammad, the Quran, or the Holy Quran. And by the way, this attack on our children, infiltration of the heart and the mind and soul of our children, does not only go to promote Islam, but even to belittle Christianity. Now we have our textbooks in our public school made fun of the Bible, make fun of Christianity and Judaism, and at the same time they are uplifting Allah and Muhammad and Islam, just to call Muhammad a prophet. Brother Jim, that is a great evidence that he is a true prophet. And if Muhammad is a true prophet, that means Christianity is not true, because Muhammad the prophet said Jesus is not deity, Jesus is not the Son of God, and Jesus did not die on the cross, and he never rose from the dead. And that's what they also teach about Islam in our public schools. We have a full study, it's called Lies in the Textbooks. It's available on our website, 63 radio broadcasts we have done in our daily radio broadcast, which is Lies in the Textbooks. I hope and I pray people will download it, MP3, and listen to it. It is, I'm amazed that Muslims can really take over our textbooks to do whatever they wish to brainwash our children to believe in Islam.
And folks, the website for Usama Dakdak is thestraightway.org. thestraightway.org. You'll find there are a number of materials to download and listen to, and information about books and DVDs there as well, thestraightway.org. This year, politics, of course, we're seeing a growing influence of Islam in politics. We saw a Muslim run for governor in the state of Michigan. And
by the way, he has 200,000 votes. That's not a small number.
No, it's not.
I mean, it's amazing. First time, and 35 years old, a doctor from Egypt. I expect next time he will win it.
There's also a Muslim who's running for Attorney General in the state of Minnesota.
Mr. Hakeem Muhammad, or Muhammad Hakeem, who is known also Keith Ellison.
And we see several other congressional seats. We have seen, matter of fact, this year is said to be a record year for Muslims running for public office.
Well, Brother Jim, don't forget that 2 years ago we only have less than 20 Muslim men and women run for office. 2016, 2018, where we're at right now. Next week we have almost 190 plus. And the expectation for 2020, that's 2 years from now, not 20 years from now, just 2 years from now, the expectation is 300 Muslim men and women will be running for different offices all over this country.
Let's talk about why. Why is it that Muslims are running for public office?
Well, Brother Jim, they're not here to enjoy our freedom. They're not here to enjoy our democracy, because democracy and Islam do not mix. So they know the only way they can change the laws of the land is to be in the office where people make laws. These are congressmen and senate and all other offices they can. So I believe their agenda is to replace our constitution by Sharia, to take over America in the near future, to silence people like myself, not just by calling them hate speakers, but by passing the law as we have seen it in Europe. It will be passed in America, where you cannot criticize Islam, and step by step we will have full Sharia all over America. And this is not my word, Brother Jim. I have some slides I would like to share with you. If we go to slide number 3, 4 and 5 and 6, can we play these slides, please, the control room?
The Muslim Brotherhood and their organizations in the U.S. are dedicated to a process of settlement they term as a civilization jihadist process, describing, Brotherhood members emphasize that they follow the laws of the nations in which they operate. They stress that they do not believe in overthrowing the U.S. government, but rather that they want as many people as possible to convert to Islam, so that one day, perhaps generations from now, a majority of Americans will support a society governed by Islamic law. He, Mustafa Saeed, a Floridian who left the U.S. Brotherhood in 1998, says he found out that the U.S. Brotherhood had a plan for achieving Islamic rule in America. It would convert Americans to Islam and elect like-minded Muslims to political office.
And notice, Brother Jim, we're not talking about simple Muslims in America. We're talking about the Muslim Brotherhood. If our audience are not aware of who are the Muslim Brotherhood, I will remind you of the Holy Land Foundation trial, which was in Texas. These are the Muslims in America who collected the money from each other to send the fund to the Palestinian Hamas to go in war against Israel. And they got plenty of money, and they launched many rockets to kill the Jews. The Muslim Brotherhood, Brother Jim, started by Hassan al-Banna in my home country, Egypt, a good 107, 108 years ago. After Hassan al-Banna, we got Sayyid Qutb. And after Sayyid Qutb, we got, as generation go out, Salamoni, who killed Sadat. We got the people who actually took over our government with the help of Mr. Barack Hussein Obama. The Muslim Brotherhood is the tree from which all the branches which we learn about in America, like Hamas, Hezbollah, Fatah, Shabab, Ikhwan, Jamaat, Boko Haram, all ISIS, all these jihad organizations is simply branches from the Muslim Brotherhood. And we do have in America, from the Holy Land Foundation trial, we have the evidence from their own writings. There are 30 jihadi organizations in America, start with ISNA and end with CARE. Those are 100% here in America for one reason only, to take over America. Even as they wrote by their own hands, they're building Islamic center in America, in every city, for the purpose of turning that Islamic center into military base from which they will launch attack to kill Americans, to destroy America. This is not also my opinion, this is not my word. Actually, that is what is written, and I would like to share this with our audience. If we go to slide 8, 9, and 10, our producer, if you don't mind.
Establishing the Islamic Center in every city. The center we seek is the one which constitutes the axis of our movement, the perimeter of the circle of our work, our balanced center, the base for our rise, and to educate us, prepare us, and supply our battalions. This is in order for the Islamic Center to turn into a seed for an Islamic society which is a reflection and a mirror to our central organizations. Thus, the Islamic Center would turn into a place for study, family, battalion, etc. As much as we own and direct these centers at the continent level, America, we can say we are marching successfully toward the settlement of Islam in this country. The process of settlement is a civilization jihadist process with what all the word means. The Brotherhood must understand that their work in America is a kind of grand jihad in eliminating and destroying the Western civilization from within and sabotaging their miserable house by their hands and the hands of the believers, so that it is eliminated and Allah's religion is made victorious over all other religions.
So these are the Muslim Brotherhood that are here. By the way, this was written in 1987, was updated in 1991. It was discovered by our intelligence 1993. That is 7 years before September 11. Had we stopped the building of one Islamic center in America? No. As a matter of fact, the number of mosques built in America after September 11 to this day, the last 18 years, supersede all the number of mosques which was built in America from the beginning of the first mosque which was built in this country over 100 years ago. So Muslims have an agenda. The Muslim Brotherhood have an agenda. All those who are running for office, part of the Muslim Brotherhood. You can ask Siraj Wahaj, you can ask Linda Sarsour, you can ask all the Muslim Brotherhood leaders, and they will tell you, we're not here to enjoy the democracy and the freedom of America. We're here to take over America, and their ultimate goal is the destruction of America. For heaven's sake, if our government knows this material all these years, we should never allow Muslims to continue to come to America and run for office in America, especially when we know they are Muslim Brotherhood, Brother Jim. They're not the simple, naive Muslim who know nothing about what they're doing.
So why is the red carpet laid out? I mean, we saw the ready access into the Obama White House. We had George W. Bush as president talk about it being a religion of peace. We see Linda Sarsour, who is heading the Women's March and speaking. And speaking of all this, why the red carpet treatment? Why is there then not defenses built up if this is somebody who is pledging to take over the United States?
Because the Democrat will remove Mr. Donald Trump from power if he ever did anything anymore to stop the Muslim from taking over America. The Democrats are the problem. Mr. Trump knows about all these people. I know personally from people I know who speak with Mr. Trump, I know for sure that he has full understanding of what the Muslim Brotherhood agenda in America. But if Mr. Trump tried to stop the invading of America by 6 Muslim countries, which Obama himself said, we cannot vet these people out of this country. You cannot vet anybody, Brother Jim, if you don't know his real name, if you don't have any picture ID or birth certificate or anything. 6 countries. And when he tried that, the Liberal Party and the Liberal judge hindered his work and stopped him. And if Mr. Trump tried to do anything to hinder that movement of Muslim or Muslimizing America or Muslim taking over America, I guarantee you, not only the Democrat will stop him, even some Republicans, sadly, because of political correctness. The Bible said, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. And that is exactly what's happening to America. Most people do not know anything about Islam. And if you know anything about Islam and you speak about it, then you are Islamophobic, you are a racist, you're a hate monger. And that's exactly how Mr. Trump is called or named, and anyone else who will ever try to criticize Islam.
You've got also information about the main goals of Islam. You have it on slide number 7. Tell us about it.
Well, there are 3 main goals, and our producer can bring it to our screen. That'll be awesome. Slide number 7, please.
Muslim refusal to assimilate into the melting pot of any Western host country. Muslim establishment of Sharia zones in areas where Muslims deny the law of the host country. Muslims' insistence the host country accommodate Sharia due to principles of religious freedom.
And this fit perfectly with the political correctness. And by the way, when Linda Sarsour said that we will never assimilate with the American people, not one liberal TV ever said anything about it. They just let it go. Then they will tell you that we are going to have our own zone. Okay, since you're not going to accept our belief and our way, we'll have our own places. This is what we call no-go zone. And we know exactly what is no-go zone in Europe, and we know nothing about it in America, even though we know it exists. In my presentation, the infiltration of Islam in America, 6 years ago, Brother Jim, as a matter of fact, we did it in a rally with VCY. We talked about the Muslim taking 37 places in America, 37 Islamic village, where they have full freedom to do whatever they wish. But so far, they never stopped the police or the ambulance or whatever to go there. When they grew up to the percentage of 5.5%, these no-go zone, what exactly Muslim will accomplish, not 37, it's going to be in the hundreds all over America. And then the third step, they're going to say, hey, freedom of religion, we have the right to live our way of life. And that's when they're literally going to be in the open wide. That's when they obviously have the upper hand. Their ultimate goal is not to have our constitution for a long time to live by. As many Muslim believers, as we have record of this, they said, if we are true Muslim practicing Islam, Islamic law, Sharia, must be applied over the Constitution of the United States of America. We will obey the Quran, Allah's word, Muhammad's words in the Hadith, and his Sunnah over any laws of this land.
Wow. Well, Usama, more than any other year, I have seen just a regular, massive get out the vote for Muslims. Matter of fact, CARE, the Council on American Islamic Relations, have put forth this congressional voter guide for 2018. And it's probably close to between 30 and 40 pages long. But we're just going to open in here, and they talk about the introduction. It says, CARE 2018 Midterm Election Congressional Scorecard to help educate Muslim community members and allies as they plan to vote in the November 2018 midterm elections. The scorecard reflects the voting performance of representatives from the U.S. Congress. The votes of each legislator have been rated positively or negatively, depending on how closely their votes on relevant legislation corresponded with civil rights and social justice priorities identified by CARE.
Well, we have to understand that CARE is put on the list of the Muslim Brotherhood. They are jihadi. They are involved in the Holy Land Foundation trial. So they are 100% jihadi. And they have full right to do whatever they want in America simply because they are non-profit organization. Like the rest of the Muslim Brotherhood jihadi organization in America, they're all non-profits. So here's encouraging people to vote. And guess what? I have seen it so many times by my own eyes. When you travel, even I was today in Chicago, and look at the Muslim homes. What signs in front of their driveways? They are the Democrat. All Muslims in America are encouraged by CARE and by all the Muslim jihadi organization to vote Democrat.
Why?
Because that is their agenda. Muslim love Democrat because Democrat will remove the border from the United States of America. They allow Muslims to come from anywhere around the world. See, that wacko Donald Trump, the Islamophobic guy, the one who hates the Muslims, does not want Muslims to come to America. But Democrats love to have Muslims in America. And Muslims love Democrat because Democrat will allow them to do whatever they want. Think about in Maine. 70 people of the 147 voted. That's okay for Muslims. This is a Democrat. It's okay for Muslims to practice female circumcision in the state of Maine. 70, only 77 said no. So the Democrats are they will do anything they can to appease and please the Muslims. They will go on their hands and their feet to make sure Muslims are welcome in America. It is the Muslim party. Like it or not, believe it or not, I see it all the time. It happens all the time. Maybe once in a while you're going to hear some Muslim guy running as a Republican. That's a fake news. That's a propaganda. But in reality, as I have talked to Muslims all over this country, they are Democrat because the Democrat Party are the party of the Muslims.
Then we also have here the 2011 election cycle once again presents the American Muslim community with an important opportunity to increase its political capacity and presence. With large concentrations of Muslim voters in key swing states such as Michigan, Virginia, Florida, Arizona, Ohio, North Carolina, and across the nation, the American Muslim population has the potential to influence who will be the next president of the United States and determine the results of local, state, and federal elections.
Tells this to the Christians. It's amazing. Even when Mr. Trump won, he won because of the help of evangelical. But you know what? I talked to many Christians who will tell me, Brother Jim, I will not vote for the less evil. I'm only going to vote for the true, holy, righteous people to lead this country to righteousness and to do what's right. If we say all Muslims together, 1 million or so, can change as a result of this election, what about the 30, 40 Christians who are going to be sitting home next week because they choose not to vote for the not most holy or the less evil? And I say, Brother Jim, with all respect for every Christian who decided not to vote in this midterm election, when you sit home, you're voting for the Democrat Party and you're voting for Muslims to take over this country. And when our Constitution in the near future is thrown in the trash can and replaced by Sharia Islamic law, I don't want to hear one Christian to complain because they're harvesting what they have planted all these years. It's time for Christians to make a huge difference in this midterm election because believe it or not, Brother Jim, all it takes is one victory for the leftists and you can kiss this country goodbye.
And here we also have the Get Out the Vote campaign. We are Muslims, we vote, and this is through the CARE website, or rather the Muslim Get Out the Vote website. And here is a statement from Nihad Hawad, the National Executive Director for CARE. He said, turn your organizations, your Islamic centers and mosques into registration centers for voters and polling stations during the election. The Muslim vote can be the swing vote in major states. What kind of America are we going to have depends on you.
Yes, are we going to have America for Allah? Are we going to have America for Islam? Are we going to have Sharia in America? Or we're going to continue to be with no voice in this country? And by the way, that Islamic center, which he want to turn into a political office, it is also, as we just read from the Holy Land Foundation trial, it is a place where they will launch literally military attack on the Americans. This is CARE. Nahid Awad knows exactly what I'm talking about, and that's exactly what they decided since 1987 as they put their name on the list that they are Muslim Brotherhood, and that is their hope and that is their goal for America. This is the reality of what Muslims are doing through our politicians. Sadly, they're using the Democrat as useful idiots, and the Democrats thinking they're using the Muslim, but in reality, Muslim in the end will be the winner. And when this day comes, Brother Jim, I don't think any Democrat can speak against Muslims because it's too late.
Usama Daktak is our guest here tonight. Perhaps you agree, perhaps you disagree. We're going to open our phone lines to give you opportunity. Perhaps something Usama said tonight has spurred a question in your mind or a comment. Our telephone number is 414-935-3030. 414-935-3030. Toll free, you can reach us at 1-800-733-8830. That's 1-800-733-8830. And perhaps if you have a question tonight as it pertains to Islam, perhaps as the growing influence of Islam, Usama has not only studied, but he was raised in Egypt and studied Islamic law. It was required.
All my life. I remember studying or memorizing the first verses of the Quran when I was 6 years old. I studied all the way, Brother Jim, until he got to college. And in college, I had 2 years of studying Sharia. And that's where I got to learn about Islam in depth.
Friends, tonight our phone lines are open, and we have just a brief time, so get on the phone right away. Give us a call at 414-935-3030 or 800-733-8830. You might agree, you may disagree, but the phone lines are open for you here tonight, and we encourage you to pick up your phones and give us a call. Let's begin with Rich, who is calling from Milwaukee. Hi, Rich, you're on the air.
Yeah, thanks for taking my call. First off, I want to say, Osama, you are such a blessing, and to have your expertise and knowledge and how you've shared it with everybody, because I think one of our problems is that America's pretty much, for the most part, doesn't understand Islam and needs to learn more. I want to start off with just a quick comment, and then I have a question. What I've noted in some of the things that, as you're going through, are quite unsettling in a small way. I've been following this since 2008 and what's been going on. And one of the things, I guess, it seems like they're getting more aggressive as they get into the political office. And that's just my only comment. But now here's my question. You've mentioned that all of them, including people running for various state offices and, for that matter, the Senate and Congress and whatever, don't they have to obey the Constitution? And wouldn't that nullify them as get from ever getting office? I'm just going to be quiet and listen to your response.
Rich, thank you for the call.
We already covered this in this slide, which we shared a little bit earlier. They say they are here to obey the Constitution. They say we don't want to have Sharia. Why? Brother Jim, because they're waiting to have enough votes. They're waiting to have enough politicians to help them to gain this land, to take over this land, and exchange our Constitution for Sharia. So yes, they are here for the next few years, be nice, good American citizen, but then all this will turn around, as we already seen it all over Europe and Canada coming next.
So once we get to that upper house, the upper hand, the 5.5%.
It's too late. Then it's too late.
Thank you for the call. Kathy is calling next from Franklin. Kathy, you're on the air.
Yes, hello, Jim and Usama. I've listened mainly to Usama, know most of my information from listening to him, and I was wondering, wouldn't most of this be corrected if we reopen the Holy Land Foundation trial?
Thank you, Kathy.
Very, very good question, Brother Jim. But the sad thing is, under Obama in the last couple of years, he was trying to remove this material completely from the internet, and we were working hard. People like myself were working so hard to make sure people have this material in their website. I think we ought, after all, Egypt have called the Muslim Brotherhood jihadis, and also the country of Qatar. So why not America? Why not Mr. Trump? I hope and I pray, my dear sisters, that Mr. Trump will do that. I hope after midterm election, to literally open this trial to the American people. Most American people have no clue what is the Holy Land Foundation trial, because we never talked about it in the past, and it's time for America to know who are those people on this list, especially those who are running for office right now.
Thank you, Kathy.
Can I just say, hello?
Yes.
Usama, your Egypt is very smart. Now, didn't they take Obama and Hillary Clinton? They tried to take over your government in Egypt.
Sure. Well, they did this.
The Judicial Watch had that.
Yes, ma'am. They did this 5 years ago, and thank God that the Egyptian rose up, Christians and many of the Muslims who do not want Sharia. Obviously, they're Muslim by names, because if they're true Muslims, they should fall into this propaganda of Sharia in Egypt. And thank God that he answered our prayers. As even Muslims said it many times, the God of Christianity answers their prayers, the Christian of Egypt, and removes the Muslim Brotherhood from power.
Kathy, thank you so much for your call. We're going to another Kathy, this one from Campbellsport. Hi, Kathy, you're on the air.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Yes, my question is this. Is there anything that we can do here to...
Kathy, please go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry. No, the thing is that we're not hearing anything. Okay, not a lot of people hear and watch WBCY. Unfortunately, there's a lot of Christians out there that probably don't know what's going on. Is there anything that we can be doing ourselves in our community?
Okay.
Also, should the clergy be speaking more about this? We don't hear anything from our pastors at all about what's going on in our country as far as, you know, taking back America. Yes, we need to be teaching the gospel, that's true, but at the same time, it's being ripped away from us.
Kathy, we're going to have Usama go ahead and address that. Go ahead.
Well, I believe the problem we have, Brother Jim and Sister Cassie, is people are still living in fear of losing their non-profit status, even though Mr. Trump have freed us from that. And people do not want to do anything is not politically correct, because some of this clergy knows very for sure, some of these ministers know for sure that there's some people in the church who will vote on the other side. So we don't want to hurt anybody's feeling, so we don't talk about politics at all. And believe me, my sister and all those who are watching us, if we continue to do that, that is the worst sin ever we can live in America. It's called the sin of silence. When we do not do anything about waking up the church, waking up the Christian, not only to pray for Christian godly men and women to run for office, but to vote for Christian godly men and women who are running for office and put action to our prayer. And I know many of our dear Catholics all over this country pray to end abortion. But guess what? They're not educating their people not to vote for those who are allowing and promoting abortion all over this country. So how good is that to talk about abortion and same time, Brother Jim, vote for those who practice and want to have abortion in America? It's time for us to get rid of political correctness and get to the bottom line. Even if we lose our status of a nonprofit, we're going to lose it anyway.
Kathy's saying, what can I do as an individual? How can I get out the message?
Sure. As a Christian, we need to speak out. We need to educate ourselves, know about all those Muslims who run for office, speak about their party, which they're running for, in boldness and in love. Let the people know, even Muslims, believe me, Muslims in the long run, if they know what is in Sharia and what the Muslim Brotherhood hoping to accomplish in America, we're doing Muslims a favor by removing them from our government, because the victim, number one, of that problem of Sharia is Muslims themselves. And sadly, the rest of the world, Brother Jim, are victim number two. So we need to speak out. We need to go out and vote, not just pray and sit home comfortably. Talk to your neighbors, talk to your friends, and get people to go out and vote next week.
Kathy, thank you for your call here. And Usama, you do have resources on your website, too, as Kathy and others can share these with other individuals.
Absolutely. The best source, I believe, people need to read, Brother James, is the Quran itself. Reason number one, why Muslims leave Islam? Because they studied the Quran and understood the Quran. 87% of the Muslim people all over the world, Brother Jim, never read the Quran because they cannot read Arabic. But most people around the world, or especially those who live in America, can read English. So why not download the Quran as an ebook, or get yourself a copy and read it and share it with others? Because where Sharia comes from, it is the do's and don'ts which Allah orders a Muslim in the pages of the Quran. And why Muslims are winning in America, why Muslims are taking place in America? Because they simply believe Islam is love, Islam is peace. But is this what is really written in the Quran? The more we know about Islam, the more we can protect ourselves and even the Muslim to get them out of this savage cult.
We've got Ken calling from Lake Geneva. Hi, Ken, you're on the air.
Yes, sir. For Osama, he's still talking.
No, go out. You're on the air. Go ahead.
Okay, so for Osama, his Roman Catholic views of Roman Catholicism and Islam. And basically, I wanted to ask him what he thinks about the mosque being open in South Milwaukee, and then the mosque on Oklahoma, there's a Somali mosque in Oklahoma.
Yeah, there are many mosques in the area. You're coming.
I sadly say this, Brother Jim, the Catholic Church and the Catholic leaders, starting by the Pope, are doing what we call the nice way to be good with the Muslim and love the Muslims, and gives them even the pulpit in the churches
Interfaith dialogue.
To speak about how loving and peaceful Islam, assuming that this maybe will help the Muslim to like Catholicism or become a Christian. Sadly, Brother Jim, this will never lead a Muslim to Christ, but this will lead many Catholics to Islam. And for concerning the building of mosques in America, if we reopen the Holy Land Foundation trial and get the American people to learn about why Muslims are building mosques in America, why Muslims are building Islamic Center in America, as they stated by their own handwriting, it is to create a military base to launch attack on the American killing. And if we add this, if the American people can learn the truth about Islam and the final teaching of the word of Allah and the command of Muhammad concerning the treatment of Jews and Christians and how Muslims should treat the Jews and Christians, the view of the book, by wiping them out from the face of the earth, maybe then our legislators can pass a law to say it is illegal to build a mosque in America, because Amendment 1 do not allow people to practice any religion which harm the American people, which does not allow peace and liberty and freedom to exist in America. And that Amendment 1 does not fit anywhere in or any shape with the doctrines and the ideology and the beliefs of Muslims in America or anywhere around the world.
Ken, thanks for raising that issue.
Jim,
ask
them about the Catholic Church sold their buildings and they open up mosques when they sold the Catholic Church.
Thank you, Ken. And it's not just Catholic Church. Across the nation, it's many.
It's sadly many denominations right now are thinking, play nice, be good, allows Muslims to build mosques in America. This will help us to reach out to the Muslims. No, when we allowed Muslims to build mosques in America, when we allow Muslims to practice Islam in America, we're telling them, you're okay, your prophet is real, your Islam is good. Why in the world we can contradict ourselves, or how in the world we can contradict ourselves by telling the Muslim, come accept Christ as Lord and Savior, if we're telling them that they are okay with their Islam?
Let's go to Mary in Greenfield. You're on the air, Mary.
Yes, I just have one question. Do you have to be a citizen of the a registered citizen of the United States in order to vote in the elections?
Yes. Yes.
The law said yes, but now in liberal state like California, they're trying to get people illegal to vote for things which, Brother Jim, as they think, it fits them. How about school board? These illegal have thousands of students.
Some are doing that. They're allowing on a local, you can vote on local races, but not on
the big national. But
right?
guess what's going to happen, Brother Jim? If we allow them to go for an inch, they're going to go for the whole entire thing. As liberals in America are trying to push in, you don't need a ID card to vote, even though we need ID card for everything else in America. And that is step from allowing all illegal non-citizens in America to vote.
Thanks for the call, Mary.
Thank you.
Laura is next in Milwaukee. Hi, Laura. You're on the air.
Hi. I wanted to say, thinking that these actions can be considered traitor-like in other countries, why are they not considered being traitoristic here in the U.S.?
I do not understand her question, what she is trying to say.
So why those who are trying to subvert our Constitution and bring in Sharia, why are they not considered as traitors?
Correct.
Well, they are. 100%.
They are traitors, but they're not being, even though they'll take their oath of office on Quran.
Well, here's a problem, Brother Jim. The ignorancy among the people, especially in the left. How in the world Nancy Pelosi will allow Keith Ellison to take an oath on the Quran? Does she know what the Quran said? The Quran said to kill every Jew and to kill every Christian. Is this how she wants her congressman to run in the 5th district in Minnesota? And I wonder if he want to become the attorney general for the state of Minnesota, will he swear in the Quran too? That means we're allowing him to practice Sharia in America because of our ignorancy, because of our stupidity. Maybe it's time for the leaders of this country to read the Quran to know what's in it, so they will never allow any Muslim to take an office by swearing in such book, which teach everything in the opposite of what our Constitution is all about.
Thank you, Laura, for the call. We're going next to Brent, who is calling from Pewaukee. Brent, you're on the air.
Thank you very much.
Brent, please go ahead.
Hi, Jim. Hey, a couple of things. I enlisted in the Air Force June of '59. One of the things I raised my right arm for was to protect my country from both foreign and domestic adversaries. I think that this really should be taught to people to realize what they're up against. Second thing, Dearborn, Michigan, oh my gosh, we've got ourselves a terrible situation. Third thing, I've talked to people, the mosques, I understand, I haven't this firsthand, but that they're building gunnery ranges in the lower levels, the basements of these mosques that are being introduced to us. I'll shut up and I'll let you fellas talk. Thank you.
Thank you for the call.
Well, here is the truth, Brother Jim. Muslims live in America. They're going to use our Constitution for our own destruction. Believe it or not, Brother Jim, I heard this when I was 10, 15 years old in Egypt. That is a good 35 years ago. Where Muslims say, we will use their Constitution to take over their country. So guess what we have in our Constitution? They have the right to enjoy Second Amendment, which means they have the right to have guns. They have the right to train their children about guns. That's why they have these villages or Muslim places all over America where they can have these camps to train the children about using weapons. And it is 100% legally. There's nothing wrong about that. But the problem is American people do not know that Muslims, with their ideology, with their belief about killing Christians and killing Jews, should never own a gun. It's like having a legal, to make it illegal in America for crazy, mentally, people who are literally crazy to own a gun. That should never be. This is their belief. When you put God in it, Allah taught them to do that. That's what they believe. They will die for the sake of Allah to kill an infidel. And we allow them to enjoy our Second Amendment. Something is wrong with us.
Let's go to Brad in West Dallas. Hi, Brad. You're on the air.
Jim, I just wanted to mention that what your guest said is exactly right. It's kind of like the abortion issue. Pro-life except for a rape and incest versus pro-life with no exceptions. Someone will say, well, I won't vote at all because he has exceptions. You got to take the best that's there. These people run around and they're so pure in their own minds, and they have all this false piety, and they sit home and let all the opposition vote, and they don't vote themselves. And what your guest also said, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. That's true, but it's also true that people are destroyed for the lack of the desire to believe knowledge. The Muslims I know won't do that. They keep saying things like that. And you invariably, you ask them, have you read the Quran? And they'll say no. And you say, look, you don't know what you're talking about. You need to read it and find out what you're talking about.
Brad, thank you for the call. We're going to squeeze one last call in, and that's Dan in Oostburg. You're on the air, Dan.
Yes.
Please go ahead. We're almost out of time.
Thank you for taking my call, and I'm a member of Act for America, and Brigitte Gabriel is the founder of it, and I strongly joined it because it's an educational tool to learn about the Muslim or the Islam religion and about Muslims. So I thank you for taking my call, and I'm wondering if that's a legitimate thing.
Thank you, Dan.
I love this caller of his, the one before, where the scripture said, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge, and the Bible did not stop there. We don't think that's what Hosea 4:7 is all about, because the continuation of this verse, it says, because you reject knowledge, I will also reject you. When I say American people are ignorant or foolish or whatever word I use, people say, that's not true. And I said, no, that's exactly what it is. We are rejecting knowledge. It's not we're unaware. It is here. It is there. Who can say, Brother Jim, in these last days, with all the technology, internet, and knowledge we can reach with our finger, that we still do not know? We have no excuse not to know, because the information is already there.
Usama, thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Thank you, Brother Jim. Appreciate
Talking about Islam's influence, folks, let me give you the website for Usama Daktak. It is thestraightway.org, thestraightway.org. I know we had many more calls coming in than what we could take here this evening, but be watching his TV program. Listen daily at 12:30 at WVCY Radio for his broadcast as well. Our time is gone. Thanks for joining us on In Focus. Good night.